let's get into the real stuff here, because
Yeah.
we had history happen this week, folks.
It's true.
Elon Musk has been traded to the Taliban. We've salary dumped Elon Musk.
Trump is, it's not official yet, but like there's advanced talks with the Trump administration.
Yeah.
Really rough last outing for Elon in Wisconsin last night. Terrible efficiency, 2 million shots, 0 for 2 million.
We got the rights to an up and coming terrorist from the Taliban. I'm not sure if he'll ever come over, to be real with you, but I do think that it's worth it just to get off the money. There was so much money on Musk's contract, and we had to include a few picks, but I think it's ultimately worth it for the flexibility we'll have moving forward as a country.
You do have to send that back. Trina raises a good question. Do we think Elon will pass the physical?
Someone did say the Taliban might try to get off the dead cap hit from Muhammad Atta.
They wave and stretch that, right? That was
are we going to be willing to eat that?
I don't know.
Pay it until 2030.
Jeez, because I saw from the passport that was left. I saw a lot of the raw numbers, and it's not good.
Yeah, it's ugly. So, it's not good. It's not good. It was on top of the rubble. Yeah, definitely a real thing. So in real news, in news that matters about people that we care about, Zach Lowe has made his triumphant return to the sports media landscape. We got a new Bill Simmons, Zach Lowe crossover pod that went for a YKB length, over 2 hours.
Over 2 hours.
Zach had a lot of information he had to get out there.
Yeah, Zach was cooking.
We got an announcement that he is coming back to the Ringer, Grantland, whatever you want to call it, the Ringer, as with his own show called the Zach Lowe Show, and we will start getting 2 podcasts a week again from Zach. This is not surprising to anyone. I think we all kind of thought that at some point. We heard rumors back in the fall. We talked about it on the podcast a little bit. We heard that Zach was going to end up there, but we thought it was going to be like a 1-year prove it deal where it was just until Zach's contract was fully done with ESPN and he could do television again. And then maybe he'd go to Peacock or Amazon or one of these places that has rights. I still don't think that's off the table, because I would imagine that they look, the Ringer and Grantland, Ringer/Spotify, I should say, Ringer/Spotify could probably pay Zach a decent amount, but he was making $1 million a year at ESPN.
Yeah. I do think that he doesn't like doing TV. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
So I think that's part of it. I wonder it's what I'm interested in, because he's doing the podcast twice a week, which I think is more than he would do Low Post. I think Low Post was
it was twice a week during the season.
Was it? Was it twice a week? Okay.
Yeah, he would do twice a week during the season.
I would be surprised. I'm interested to see if Zach writes for the Ringer, or how often Zach is writing for the Ringer, because they already
write things anymore.
They do apparently,
kind of
but
away from it a little bit.
Yeah. But a lot of stuff is in audio podcasts. So something that was really jarring for me, because I had to listen to this. We were obviously doing the show about it. We pushed from Tuesday to Wednesday, so
we had to give the Hoggies what they want.
We had to give it. Yeah, we had to be ready. So yesterday night, I'm at the gym, listening to this, because it's one of the only time frames I'm going to have time to listen to this 2-hour podcast. But it wasn't up on Apple. I usually use podcasts, the Apple podcast app, and it wasn't up on that. So I had to listen to Spotify. I didn't realize they make you fucking watch the video. You
can switch to audio, but so from what I understand, I just a little inside baseball here.
Yeah,
Spotify a few years ago. Shout out to Andrew from Sports Drink, who told me in 2021 start a YouTube, because in 5 years, more than 50% of people will be watching their stuff on YouTube for podcasts. Some of the best advice I ever got. It helped the podcast grow a ton. Yeah. It is true that YouTube took a part of Spotify and Apple's market share when it comes to that. So I use Spotify for podcasters to upload this podcast. Spotify is now trying to push back against YouTube and basically create their own version of the video sphere, where you can go in and find podcasts organically. Because one of the things that I always have I'm literally sat down with a meeting with people at Spotify. Like I had a Zoom call probably 2 years ago at this point, where they asked me these questions, and I was like, yeah, no one can find my podcast on Spotify. Like they find it through Twitter or through YouTube or through whatever. So they're trying to improve and compete with YouTube. And basically, long story short on this, that's why they force you to watch the video, because they want to encourage people to watch the video on their phones or wherever in the same way that they do on YouTube.
Yeah. So like if you're watching this right now on YouTube, earbuds, I never do that. I listen to
that's what I do. I just put it on the TV and I just have it on YouTube.
Oh, you have it on DJ. Yes, because I use it when I'm like out doing stuff. So I'm like,
I don't leave my house. That's the difference.
You
have a life, like you have. Yeah, you do things.
Kind of, somewhat.
You go to the gym
when I'm home alone. Yeah, well, I go to the gym
and you drive a car. I don't do either.
That's true. I do drive a car. And video, they don't want you doing video when you're driving a car for whatever reason.
Well, have it on in the background.
Don't get
for stoplights.
I guess is what you're doing. Yeah. Pulling up the audio, looking at it at stoplights. No, officer, please.
Yeah.
Pull over to watch your 2-hour videos if you're driving.
Yeah, it's like, sir, it's the Zach Lowe Bill Simmons crossover. You understand, right? He's like, my bad. I didn't realize. Zach was back at the Ringer.
Then he pulls over the hot woman behind me and gives her a $900 ticket. You let him go. Yeah, but he's listening to the Low Post return.
Exactly. It's something that all dudes understand.
Yeah, all fellas. Am I right? Fellas, am I right? Ladies.
But yeah, this podcast was exactly what I wanted, exactly what I needed. Like, just like some comfort food, but in podcasting form, basically.
Yes. It was really nice to get like Zach back.
Yeah.
Like I had forgotten all the fun things not on my list. Go.
Yeah. We accused Zach of being washed at the last year or two. He's at ESPN. Mm-hmm. Two elements of this. One, I think ESPN was holding him back.
Yes.
The fact that he had to be like a little bit corporate with his takes and couldn't be super unfiltered when he was there his last 2 years. Yeah. And then also on top of that, the fact that they would force all Bobby of the Marks. ESPN talking heads constantly onto his podcast the last 2 years he was there really just dragged down the quality of episode that you would get. I hope that with his new podcast, we don't get that. I hope that it's a variety of guests and he gets to book them and it's people that he enjoys talking to and blah, blah, blah. But the other part is that we always talk about like the first game of the playoffs always fools people, right? Like the first round, first game, when you have a team like the Suns or the Clippers with these older guys and they have fresh legs after sitting out a week and not playing basketball, and then Kevin Durant might come out and drop 40 and everyone goes, oh my God, the Suns are going to win the series or whatever. And then they lose because, their team's just not good enough. Zach had very fresh legs on this episode.
Yes.
Zach was waiting to get all of the takes into the universe very clearly. Had been sitting on something to the point where he did a YKB style ramble to start the podcast and went on for almost 4 minutes straight, just talking about different things that happened in the NBA this year. Which then
I forgot it was the day before the cat trade until he brought that up. And I agree with him. He said that was one of the more interesting trades. And if we hadn't gotten the Luka trade, that still probably would be the most interesting trade of the this transaction cycle in the last year.
That's what he said. He said he was it's a top 10 move probably of the last decade or so. Mm-hmm. And it didn't even register because we got the Luka trade a few months later. And that was so big that Zach even obviously created his own reaction to that because we need a marker to go back and watch his opinions on it. The cat trade was big, but it wasn't quite Luka trade big. And it's the point where we literally talk about it on every episode of the podcast. But I did get a kick out of the fact that during that long rant, Zach went on for 4 or 5 minutes by himself. Bill immediately pivoted the conversation to Jason Tatum when he got back to him. He's like, yeah, you said Evan Mobley and Tatum. Those guys really. I'm like, Bill, so you're funny. Unbelievable. You know that the subreddit does that every episode where when they post the episodes, they say first Tatum mention at 4 minutes, the Bill Simmons podcast subreddit, first Tatum mention. And it's always within the first 10 minutes of the podcast, no matter what they talk about.
That's so funny. That's awesome.
He probably did it during the Ezra Klein episode.
Well, but then the other thing I noticed about Bill was when Bill got to the Tatum, like when he got to the Boston Celtics portion, he made the insane thing where he said, I think this is a legacy for Jason Tatum, that Jason Tatum has a legacy thing at stake here. I think if he wins the title, he is the best player on the Celtics, and he's a top 4 player in the NBA. And I was like, awesome. That's so true, Bill.
As opposed to right now?
That's what I'm saying. It was so funny because I thought he was gonna like go the other way and say something insane. He's like, because right now it's a little 1A, 1B. I'm like, no, it's not.
Definitely not. I mean, after this season, I think that the gap is pretty clear that Tatum is.
Well, I've always that was a running bit, particularly like last year when like Tatum was struggling, where I would be like, yeah, no, Jaylen Brown, and Jaylen Brown does like have his rise up moments, but like Jason Tatum is clearly the best player on that.
I don't think that anyone can rightfully argue that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are even in the same tier anymore. Now, does Jaylen help out Jason Tatum when he might be struggling to score? Sure. I mean, he's a fine second or third banana. But, like, I don't really think that anyone thinks that those two are on the same level. Tatum is very clearly the engine that makes that team go at this point, even if he has a lot of help around him. Like, I think that everyone has accepted that he's regularly a first all-team All-NBA guy at this point. And they're probably going to go to the finals again, if not win the finals. So, I don't really think that was a controversial statement by any means.
No, it was like, well, and KJ saying that it was he was saying that was like of the decade right now. That's still not a controversial statement.
I don't think
Jason Tatum's going to be first team All NBA for half the decade. Like,
I guess I just don't really understand how that's a hot take because if you go, let's say you go Jokic, Luka, even like Embiid isn't even around anymore. Like Embiid has played 40 games in the last 2 years.
Give Embiid and Giannis like the wave in, like even Embiid, if he's hurt, like you're still at 5.
But Embiid,
who are you going to say, Booker?
How many? I was going to say it's like Luka maybe, but like what's going on with Luka right now? It's been a weird few months for him. Long story short, it's like when we look back at the resume of this decade, Tatum is obviously going to have one of the 3 or 4 best resumes. Like, I don't even really think that's Wemby up next, sure. But like, we're in 2025 already. We're halfway through this decade.
Shea like certainly seems on track to like I think if they, obviously if they win the title this year, but I think even if they have a deep playoff run, like he's, and he gets an MVP, which is, I think, pretty set in stone. I would be shocked if he didn't win MVP. I think he's like well on his way, but like, like Tatum, that was just such a funny like thing. Like, yeah, man, like it's just so funny because Bill will sometimes like goes out of his way to like shoehorn Tatum into like these conversations. Nobody like, how is people, we're doing it right now, but like, how are people not sick of like arguing about Jason Tatum? It's so funny to make him the legacy guy
about him. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's so weird to make him the legacy guy because he like kind of got out from under it like last year, and I don't know.
I feel like he's stamped at this point. He can definitely raise his ceiling and like stat pad his resume, but I do think that the argument is kind of over after, and I think this regular season really helped that too, because I think that if he had followed up those finals with like a middling year, everyone would be like, all right, maybe he is a super team merchant, but like once again, having one of the better years of his career in the middle of his prime, I don't know. I'm just once again kind of sick of the conversation. But
exactly. We'll check in for the playoffs. I'm done talking Celtics for a while.
The biggest revelation of this whole podcast is that Zach criticizes the Toronto Raptors.
Now I have that. I have that on my list.
I almost fell out of my chair. Yeah. I almost fell out of my chair.
Who at ESPN was making him go to the Raptors meetings?
That's like, what I'm saying. It's like, was there an ESPN like, listen, Canada's a big part of it's a big part of the market share, Zach.
Market. It's big.
We're imposing tariffs on Raptors slop. Like, what is it that made it so that he was willing to criticize them for, I think, the first time ever? Like, to be fair, the last 2 years, he's kind of been like, what direction is this team going in? Even when he was on the podcast, like, he was more like, he was fair to them because he's always fair to them. Yeah. Because he likes to go to Toronto and, as I've said,
clearly has some like relationship with some people in the front office that he likes, so.
And as we've said before, essentially Raptors media is it's like state propaganda.
Yeah,
that comes out of there. So if you criticize the team in any nature, I would imagine that they're not thrilled about it, especially if you're constantly visiting and going there. And
they're about to put him in a Studio Ghibli like AI cartoon. Like he's gonna get tweeted out from the Raptors official account in the Mussolini hanging by his feet in Studio Ghibli format. He's got to watch out. It's so fun. Well, and it's also just so funny because this is the guy who I make a ton of fun of Zach for Scotty Barnes' first year, keep calling him 10-time All-Star Scotty Barnes. And
yeah,
I was like, really? We're like, he's good, but like, really? And I feel very vindicated about that now, like years later, when you put in one of our chats the other day, the forbidden thing, like, the forbidden discussion topic about the Raptors is RJ Barrett better than Scotty Barnes?
I honestly, I know Raptors fans that listen to this that are going to DM me very angry after you just let that in on the universe.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
I forgot this isn't a Patreon one.
There's a reason why I didn't tweet it. Let's just put it like that. I was watching a game and I was like, look, now, is Scotty probably, once again, do I think that Scotty is in a situation that isn't ideal for him? Yeah, probably. Yeah. I think he'd probably be better off as like a glue guy, third best player on a really good team where he can showcase some of the things and showcase some of his strengths and it wouldn't highlight his weaknesses quite so much. I mean, he's shooting like 27% from 3 this year.
Yeah.
But honestly, now, once again, I'm probably loosey with the football. I'm probably getting fooled by RJ Barrett, someone who I've never thought was good.
Yes, I was gonna say this is not you. Like you're not some RJ Barrett defender. Yeah,
but on any given night, RJ has games where I'm like, the ceiling is higher than Scotty Barnes has been this year. Is all I'm saying. Is that like they're not winning a ton of games, but he occasionally has the pop off games that I have been at least somewhat impressed by. I don't think that like I still wouldn't, if I'm building a team, I wouldn't want to have a guy like RJ Barrett on my team because I just think the weaknesses are too loud. But I don't think that's like worst contract in the league bad anymore.
Yeah,
is all I'll say. But yeah, I got a kick out of a few things on here. First off, another thing that was big on here. The Lou Dort Defensive Player of the Year conversation.
So can I say something about that? I don't like totally disagree on that. Like, to be totally honest, I do think he's like pretty good. Like,
I kind of think regular season awards I think that this is going to be a weird time for regular season awards and like all NBA and all defense teams because it's very obvious that like I don't even think I would say he's a top 2 defender on that team. Now, what he does for them defensively is extremely important. I'm not saying that his point of attack defense and the fact that you could put him on the other team's best player and he can slow them down and sometimes on a good night shut them down isn't extremely valuable to what the Thunder do. But it does feel like this team is just like filled with great defenders and is winning in a way that is more of a collective than just one individual. And we tend to want to reward those things by giving someone on those teams Defensive Player of the Year. But this year, like in general, I would probably still say Caruso and Chet are a little bit better on defense for what they do than Dort. But like Caruso wasn't even playing more than 20 minutes until recently. He missed a bunch of games. Chet missed half the season. And so if that's the case, it feels like this little blip in time while we have the 65 game rule is going to get more things like Lou Dort winning Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, no, I think that is like, because there's also like different flavors of this. You know, they talked about Dyson Daniels and like Dyson Daniels is like a very interesting, you know, he's the what if Matisse Thybulle was good, like corollary, like, you know, like it is that like the hyper turnover version of defender? Is that like more interesting, or is it like the point of attack?
He's also much better on ball is the thing. That Dyson's a very well-rounded defender, whereas Matisse is like the best. Basically, the comparison, it's like free safety, but like Dyson's like a guy who can like roam and play free safety or in the slot, but also is a shutdown corner. It's like a rare type of player. I'm sure there's an NFL comp that I'm not thinking of right
Darrell
now.
Rivas.
Sure, I guess. Yeah, I can't remember, but
I seem to remember Rivas playing safety a couple of times, but maybe I'm making that up.
But either way, that's the thing is, are we moving away from it has to be a big? And like the perimeter,
Wemby got hurt because I think that ends. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and the Grizzlies are in free fall, so Jaren Jackson was up there, and now it's like Mobley, Draymond, or one of these perimeter defenders, Dyson, Dort, and the argument that that people have made for perimeter defenders in the past is like the reason why advanced analytics don't like them as much is because their on-offs. Caruso's the only one that has like insane on-offs year to year as a perimeter defender, and that's largely due to the fact that he's just good at like fucking everything. Like he can switch, he's great, has amazing hands, he's super strong, he moves his feet well, he's a great team defender, he's a great on-ball defender. He still only plays 20 to 25 minutes a game and misses a ton of games, so he's not going to win the award. So looking at the other perimeter defenders and why the perimeter defender versus big thing, bigs just in general have been historically more important to offense or defenses than perimeter defenders have been. But nowadays it feels like as everyone can do a little bit more on offense. So like as we have like 5 skilled, like the OKC and the Celtics and the Cavs, they constantly have like 4 or 5 guys who can handle the ball, who can create for themselves. And that does make it feel like the perimeter defenders have become extremely important, even if it isn't super reflective in like impact stats and on-off and stuff. Just watch the games, and it feels like perimeter defense is more important than it's ever been in the history of the NBA, I would say.
Yeah. And I think that like, you know, honestly, like defensive player of the year is like kind of a, I don't want to say a stupid award, but it's like a little bit of a, it's not how the game functions, you know, and I'm like usually like a defender, like you have like a best defender, but like it's kind of important how these guys all like interlock together. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't like your defense wouldn't be good if you had like take the top 5 bigs like Wemby, Jaren Jackson. You know, those guys are getting like if you just did every big like defender that Rudy Gobert, all those guys, you're gonna get cooked like from like 3-point range. Like that would still be. Everybody needs to fit together. Everybody has a role. Everybody has like a different.
That's why the Mobley Draymond thing is interesting because they're like the rare big defenders who are good at the traditional rim protection, paint protection stuff, but they also can switch on the perimeter.
Right.
So if you know, it's not like you're going to be doing that every single game, every single matchup, but they have the ability to do it. So I think ultimately with this defensive player of the year conversation, it's probably just going to go to Draymond or Mobley. But I think the perimeter defenders need to be more in the conversation from year to year and not matter quite as much with the impact stats, and really like just vary the award from year to year is my thing.
I do kind of feel like Draymond's kind of at the point where it's a little bit like LeBron, where like everyone just kind of gets sick of voting for him. Like I think has probably Draymond? Been when he's plays. Yeah.
He's only won 1.
Which is crazy, but it's usually because he's getting suspended and like
that's true.
Like, you know what I'm saying? It's usually because of games played, he's either got hurt or got suspended or something like that. But I feel like usually when Draymond qualifies,
if anything, that should be a good thing for Defensive Player of the Year, though. You got to have a little psycho in you.
A little enforcer mentality, you know. But like Rudy Gobert, you know, I always used to get so mad at the calculator rats for the Rudy Gobert shit, like because like. Again, the Rudy Gobert is such a highlight point for like how different the regular season and the playoffs are, you know, like, so that's another huge thing. And like Draymond, you don't get much more contrasting in terms of defensive 16 game equity than fucking Draymond and Rudy Gobert. And I think that my take would probably be that like, if you had to do it pretty much until the point where Wemby came in the league, I think Draymond's probably been the best.
This will be his last chance because we're assuming that Wemby's health thing is just a one-off and that he'll probably start racking up Defensive Player of the Year awards. I'm fine with going legacy route and giving it to him, or even giving. I honestly don't really care all that.
It is kind of crazy that the Warriors are I think they're like 5th in defense this year or something like that. Like they're up to 7th. They're 7th in defensive
They have
efficiency.
no personnel
Yeah.
that's all
crazy.
that's all Draymond. Like
Yes.
that's like basically all Draymond. I mean, their perimeter defenders are like Pods, Steph.
They had Wiggins for like 50 games.
But Wiggins'
like,
defense isn't as good as it used to be. Like I don't even buy that he's like a lockdown defender anymore. And like they play a lot, Buddy, Kuminga, like I don't really think that they play guys that anyone would say are like legit positives on the defensive end, except for Gary Payton II, who just got injured again, and once again only plays like 20 minutes a game, and another guy that like is not quite the defender that he was a few years ago. So long story short on all of this, I found the Lou Dort conversation to be interesting. It sounds like he's gaining real buzz around the league.
I do think he's like Lou Dort has been like very good. The case against Lou Dort is it's like, like you said, Caruso plays 20 minutes a game. Jason Wallace has also been like kind of crazy good. Like whenever he gets a chance, like
they have so many perimeter defenders that you can throw out there. Even Jalen Williams, like I know J-Dub's strength is definitely more rim protection and like help stuff, but he's like not a bad wing defender by any means. Like they really do have like a ton of guys that they can just throw out there. The point I wanted to make on this is that it's in your brain right now is basically the Rock Cena WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Thunder hate being Rock and Cena being your love for Marcus Smart and having it extend over to Lou Dort.
Yes. Yeah. It is. It is. Honestly, it is kind of.
It is
a little. Well, here's what I'll say. But here's how I'm squaring that circle because they talked about the Thunder. I was surprised at how little because I braced at the top. They did their usual sucking off the Oklahoma City Thunder that everybody does, and they did their shtick about like, why is no one talking about how awesome this 13 and everyone's talking about it. Like everyone
Bill admitted that though. Bill said he was like, I feel like we have talked about them a lot, and I just want to point out, Bill always has. You did this a little bit too, but Bill has one non-Celtics team that he's always like. Oh, he did it with the Heat for years. He was doing it with the Cavs. And as the Cavs have become seemingly less of a threat down the stretch of this season, not to say that, like, once again, we've both said we still think they have a chance at a Celtic series.
For sure.
But it's one of those things where, like, it felt like it was very even until the last month. And the Cavs have stumbled, and maybe that's part of it is just them not giving a shit. But
they could be going Nuggets mode from 2 years ago.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the Thunder are the team that Bill is doing the boogeyman thing for, where he has to build up another non-Celtics team, and they have a very good resume. But I do think that is at least part of the fact why Bill is like, oh, watch out for this team. They're all time. Blah blah blah.
Bill is because that's the thing, and that was the thing they got around to talking about is like particularly in the Celtics matchup. Why I don't trust the Thunder in a playoff matchup is because they have that they're like the turbo triple. They're basically that turbo triple like Raptors team from like years and years ago that was like I think they were like a 4 seed or something like that, or a 5 seed. And they were like, do you remember that year when their like turnover differential was like fucking insane? And they're basically
that was the year they played the Sixers in the first round.
Yes. So like
the difference was that they own teams on the glass and this OKC team does not.
Well, it doesn't. But the other difference is they have the MVP.
Actual superstar.
They have an actual superstar, which is why they're the best like regular season team of all team. But that's why Bill's scared of like the Thunder, and that's why the Celtics are a thing, because that is a weakness. That's how the Miami Heat like beat the Celtics, is they are not point of attack, pressure, turning the ball over. Like that is a weakness of the Celtics. But it's also, and I thought Bill and Zach did a good job like reviewing this, because this is something I was going to kind of save for when we did our playoff predictions, and I had to actually justify why I don't like the Thunder, is that they are like quietly kind of reliant on turnovers, like a little bit. Like now, they're also one of the best turnover teams of like all time, so it's not a bad thing to be reliant on something like that when you're that good at it.
They also have an insanely good offense, though. That's the difference.
But hold on, but that's like pretty much entirely Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. It's not a very diverse.
A lot of it. Brother,
It's not a
I'm
very
telling
diverse
you,
offense.
with Chet Holmgren and No Shea, they have 127 offensive rating.
That's awesome.
That's
that they're doing that.
insane. That's
That's
not awesome.
awesome.
That's literally the greatest offense in the history of the NBA. I'm not saying that is going to translate to the playoffs, to be clear. I think that is a small sample size thing. And I think because we've still only gotten like 200 or 300 minutes of it in the regular season because Chet hasn't played that much.
Yeah.
But I do think that people are selling short a little bit their ability to survive without SGA in small spurts, is my thing.
Here's what I'll say about Oklahoma City. I still think they're going to be there in the finals. They do have like a pretty good chance of like winning, like dropping the kayfabe. I do think they have a pretty good chance of like winning the title and doing all of that stuff. I will tell you right now, the game plan for teams is going to be: don't turn the ball over, don't let Shea beat you. And I think it's going to be a little surprising how well that's going to work. I don't think Oklahoma City is going to stomp through the West like everybody's like predicting, that it's going to be like 5-game series here, 5-game series. I think that's going to work. I still think Oklahoma City is going to win these series, but I do not think it's going to be as easy as people think, because I don't know. I think there's a huge difference between Jalen Williams and Lou Dort shooting.
I thought what they said was fair. I think their only weakness is that question, in my opinion. Their only weakness is when it comes to nut crunching time, what do the second and third option on OKC look like when teams force the ball? I completely agree. I think that, and honestly, it comes down to, this blew my mind because the one thing I was nervous about beyond just like, all right, is J-Dub going to be Tobias Harris in big moments again? Or is Chet going to be, kind of unreliable in a way that it seemed like he was last year offensively? The one thing that kind of shocked me was prior to Chet coming back, they were 17th, I think, in wide open 3-point percentage. And I was like, that's not good. When it comes to the play, like the teams that were at the top were like the Celtics, the Cavs, the Warriors, like the best shooting teams in the NBA, basically. Yeah. But since January turned over, since Chet's come back, they are number one in wide open 3-point percentage. They're shooting 45% on wide open threes. So that is, if you're the optimist on OKC's going to run through the West and maybe win the finals, I wouldn't say easily, but they'll probably win the finals. That's your like, this team since January, this is what it really looks like when we have everything. Everyone's healthy. This is kind of the engine. This is everything hitting on all cylinders. And if you're anti OKC, you could say, well, it's the second half of the season. Who gives a shit? It's Mickey Mouse. So long story short on this, I think that they did a fair job of being objective. I don't think that they thought, I think they kind of felt the way we do too. Yeah. But just in obviously I'm much higher on OKC's ceiling than you are. So, all right.
Yeah, so well, I would just say, I mean, my whole thing is, I just think, I think where the OKC stuff differentiates is like, how successful do you think teams are going to be at shutting down Shea in the playoffs? I think is kind of what, and I think, and I think it's fair considering he's having like the best scoring season since Jordan for people to disagree with me and say that, like, I don't think teams are going to be able to like figure that out, because to be honest, no one has in the regular season. I continue. I've never been let down by being of the opinion that the playoffs are almost a completely different sport than the regular season.
So
is my only thing.
Just a quick aside on the SGA thing.
Yeah.
He's obviously going to win MVP. And I had this conversation earlier, which is, I was trying to think of because I think Cooper Flag is going to be the rare culturally uniting player where both Hoopers and calculator rats love him. Mm-hmm. Who do you think was I tried to figure out, because I don't think you could say LeBron was the last player, because I think that LeBron still had, at LeBron's peak, even, there were people arguing that like Kevin Durant was better. Like Hoopers, like I'm saying. And then like, obviously, like over time, people came to love LeBron and there was a lot of resentments towards LeBron because of various factors. But my question for you was, who do you think, because people have said SGA, but my thing is that SGA is in what I would call the Harden zone, where he's not disliked. I think he's liked by Hoopers and he's liked by calculator rats, but they have counterparts in both factions that are loved more. So for example, like calculator rats love Jokic more, and Hoopers would still like skew towards, besides SGA, they would still score like lean towards like the old guard of like Kyrie and KD and then even in the younger players they might prefer like Ant or someone like that in that regard. So my question for you was, who would you think of this? Let's say since we grew up, since 2000, who was the player that united the Calculator Rats and the Hoopers the most? Because I have an answer that I think that you'll like.
United Calculator Rats and Hoopers a lot.
Someone said Steph, but people used to argue Kyrie was better than Steph. Like Hoopers
Steph
did not.
People forget that kind of before Steph was stamped, the old guard did not like Steph. Like you can't, famously Chuck was like, you can't win shooting a jump shot. And that was not just like inside the NBA guys being cranks. Like that was like a fairly like well received.
Steph is in the LeBron camp of he got his flowers from Hoopers later.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that was
Wade's a good answer. People are saying Wade. I don't know if I would say Wade. My answer was T-Mac.
T-Mac's a good one. Somebody just said Dirk was kind of what I was thinking about a little bit, but it's only one move. Like they love the Hoopers love the jab step fadeaway, but like Dirk just doesn't have a big enough bag. You know what I'm saying, to be like a real Hooper. T-Mac's a good
T-Mac, because I loved him when I was like 12 years old and I didn't know anything about analytics. I was like, he's just fucking cool as shit. And like he had the obviously the thing with T-Mac is that the injury is just completely derailed whatever he could become. So like he kind of gets lost to time a little bit when we talk about these things. But analytically, Daryl Morey traded for him, like, or didn't trade for him, but build a team around him. Like he loved T-Mac. He was one of the first of this like Jason Tatum, Paul George style wing, Kawhi. He was one of the first ones that really kind of ushered in that era back in the early 2000s. And then combined with the fact that he was just like, had like an awesome aesthetic. Like he was just cool as shit. T-Mac and the Magic jerseys, that's aura right there.
Yeah. I do think, not anymore because he kind of developed like the fascist aura. But like young Chris Paul, I think did have like Hooper
shot a lot of mid-range shots.
Yeah, a lot of mid-range shots. Like the point guard like stuff. I think like young Hornets Chris Paul, I think was like pretty close to that because he's always been like an analytical darling. Like you look at any of Chris Paul's stats, it's like. He's the best point guard of all time. Yeah. Like the Calculator Rats will say that. But I do think like Hornets, Chris Paul, like Hoopers loved him too.
Yep.
So
the true point guard old heads, that's a good point. He was like the last like true point guard. Like small guard, like pass first, but also could get buckets in the mid-range. When he was young, hyper athletic, you're right in that regard. Played with great pace and feel. And then Jonathan's answer for this era, I think, is a good one. Paul George until now was a unifying player amongst Calculator Rats and Hoopers. It really until like I would say until like he became kind of the butt of the joke.
Yeah.
Like up until like 2019, it was like he was kind of like certifiably stabbed.
I loved Pacers Chris Paul when he was like up against the Heat. I loved him, dude. Like he was that was one of my like non-Celtics guy. Like I really loved him. Like he was awesome. Like
it really hurt when he had his best season in OKC, finished third in MVP, and then just completely shit his pants in the first round of the playoffs against that Donovan Mitchell Utah Jazz team. And like,
did I say Chris Paul? Paul George. Sorry, I had Chris Paul on the brain.
Oh no! Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, I see you.
You just knew what I meant, but the comments were very confused.
Yeah, we always,
We had millennial. We were using millennial to millennial.
Wavelength. Zoomers are like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
What are you talking about?
Last few things on the Bill Zach podcast. Bill saying he's once again reverse jinxing here. Bill saying he's voting for Malik Beasley over Peyton Pritchard for Sixth Man of the Year.
Like, so here's the thing.
I don't even disagree with that.
That's what I was going to say. Bill's logic
Beasley's
was
having
like correct.
He's having an insane shooting season.
The way Bill laid out his logic, he was like correct that like Malik Beasley is more important to the Detroit Pistons than Peyton Pritchard is to the Celtics. Like I don't think that's really arguable. I think that's like objectively true.
Yeah, because the Pistons have like 4 really good players, or like 4 good players, including Beasley this season, and the Celtics are stacked. Yeah, I don't disagree with that, But sorry, I have to let Dewey down here. He's getting getting excited over the 6th man of the year talk.
Dewey.
But yeah, that's that's Bill saying, all right, let's pump our brakes on the BMM. Another 6th man of the year. We just got one for Brogdon 2 years ago. Peyton Pritchard will get one eventually. Let's give it to Malik Beasley, who is arguably having the best non-Steph 3-point shooting season of all time. Yeah. Which I think people haven't really realized that he is having like legitimately one of the greatest shooting seasons we've ever seen.
Well, this is why everyone's like, how are the Pistons the 5 seed? It's like that is why. That is literally why right there. Like, and Cade's improvement. Like, I've seen Cade get a lot of like credit for this. And
Zach said that he didn't improve that much, and I was like, I completely disagree. He's become one of the best jump shooters in the NBA this year.
Yeah, I think what Zach said was that his improvement was like a little bit overblown. Which who did Zach say he would rather vote for? Oh, Dyson Daniels. They were saying for like most improved versus
from like fringe rotation player to like clear starter.
Yeah. By the way, I kind of think we talked about that like last year with like Maxey and like John Morant. We've talked about this, about the idea of like most improved player usually going to like a year 3 play. Just whoever's in year 3. You know what I'm saying?
It's year 3 or 4.
Cade is year 4. Yeah,
but he missed a season, so he's basically year 3.
Yes. So you always get the most improved player, and I think that part of the reason it always goes to those guys is because people don't want to look stupid when you vote for. Because it's much more likely that when you vote Dyson Daniels most improved player, he's back to being like he has like a regression year.
Good player, not great player. Yeah.
Right. And I I think that is, but I don't think that's necessarily the exercise. Like, I would vote for Dyson Daniels because I expect, Cade was on that trajectory. I made a ton of fun of Cade, like for
honestly,
being like not good. Yeah.
I think Tyler Hero is another one you got to throw on. Like, I don't even like, I'm not like a big Tyler Hero guy, and maybe this is just an insane shooting season, but like, I legitimately was like, he's just going to be a 6th man for most of his career. Austin Reeves is another good one, but like,
Austin Reeves is another,
but like one. To go from like, man, I don't know about this guy to all-star for Tyler Hero. That feels like a pretty big jump. And once again, that's more in the Julius Randle, Lauri Markkanen mold of like former high pick that halfway through their career. I know it sounds weird because he's only 25 or whatever. He might be 25 going on 26, Tyler Hero. But like, it does feel like Hero was someone that was kind of left for dead and revived his career in a way that a lot of people don't do, at 25, 26 years old.
I stand by it. We were making so much fun of the Heat for being mad that nobody wanted Tyler Hero on the $30 million contract, but like they really didn't. Like, and now that does kind of like look like a mistake. I got to kind of eat that one a little bit because he has like looked pretty good. Hijacked had another good one. Zubac is another like really.
Oh, that's a really good one.
Yeah, a really good one. Like,
I mean, Zubac is what, 20? Zubac is another one. He's in the Steven Adams mold though, where they talked about Steven Adams only being 31 on the podcast.
Yeah.
The Zubac is another one where you're like, Zubac is 26.
Yeah, that is crazy.
I think he's 26 or 27, and you're like, what the fuck?
And an enormous, that is the 0 bump too. Like you are
the Uno bump.
Uno bump. Sorry, yes.
Saro is Maxey. Uno is
that's right.
hard.
Uno. Yeah, I was gonna say the Uno bump is
the Uno bump is real for bigs. I don't disagree there, but the difference is that Zubac. Okay, so 2 things. Malik Beasley is the rare. We always find players like this where we're like, man, if only Jeremy Grant could go back to like how he looked as a defender earlier in his career and combined it with this scoring version like he was like 2 or 3 years ago. That never happens. Yeah. Malik Beasley is the rare exception where like he's like a passable defender now, and he's like an insane shooter where he's become like an actually important part of a winning team this season. Zubac is definitely an Uno merchant on offense. I'm not saying that he isn't. Like, I think that he has taken his game up to the next level because he's playing with James Harden. But he can survive without James Harden a little bit. He can create he's a good post scorer, good offensive rebounder. And then on top of that, he's still playing some of the greatest defense of his career. and he's a very good defender. So like if you combine the two in terms of, you're getting the best version of Zubac is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Where like usually when the offense goes up, the defense falls off, and it just has not happened with him.
I want to do a hilarious exercise with you real quick. Okay. So I'm on cleaning the glass, defensive efficiency. Okay. 1 and 2 are Oklahoma City and Orlando respectively. Okay. I'm going to read you 3 through 6 in some order. I'm not going to give them you in order, and I want you to put them in order of where you think these teams are. Okay. So it's Boston, Minnesota, the Clippers, and Houston. Where do you think those teams are in efficient? And they're somewhere in the 3 to 6 range. Who do you think goes where?
In defensive efficiency?
Defensive efficiency, yes.
So it's Boston, Houston, Minnesota, and who else?
The Clippers.
I mean, I would assume that Boston is at the top of that group. I'd probably go Houston next, Minnesota, and the Clippers.
So Houston is third.
Okay.
Hilariously.
Well, yeah, that's how they win. Yeah.
The Clippers are 4th in defensive efficiency this year. Boston is 5th, and Minnesota is 6th. And Boston and Minnesota are like they're like almost a full point behind like Houston and the Clippers.
I know the Clippers have been winning with defense plus the Uno factor. Like I know that is. And once again, I'm not being loosey with the football with Kawhi again with the health. But man, if they can get him for a round, I would not want to play them.
They're like, it kind of made me a little nervous because that was going to be my big take, like that I was going to float out there, was that I was going to like pick the Clippers in like but now that's like
the 2-7 or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
everyone's
like they're going to get
that.
the Rockets, and then So here's the thing that I thought about with the Rockets Clipper series, and if we do get that, we'll talk about it a little bit more later. But you obviously have the Harden versus the Rockets factor, which is just great television.
Amazing. Yep.
You also have this scenario where like the Clippers defense has been amazing all season, and I don't trust anyone on Houston offense.
Yeah.
But like, I guess it's unfair of me to say this because like their main perimeter defenders aren't the old guys like Derek Jones Jr. and Chris Dunn and whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that like one of the funniest possible outcomes for the playoffs is that Jalen Green is just like the most athletic player on the court and just goes off against the Clippers. And everyone's like, see, we told you. They went up against like a slower, older team, even though their defense is really good.
Can you imagine Raphael Stone, like how happy he would be if he went off in the playoffs, and then you could just immediately trade him for Giannis? Like the Bucks totally like fall for it, and
that's what I'm saying. Like there's an outcome where we get that scenario. There's also an outcome where he gets completely locked up, and then it just people have a different perspective of who he is as a player. But yeah, and that's the other part is like Chris Dunn in the playoffs. The offense is tough with him. Like the thing that I like about the Clippers is that they've assembled enough offensive and defensive talent that complements each other, but they have some like Norm Powell's defense is probably going to be a struggle in the playoffs. Chris Dunn's offense is probably going to be a struggle in the playoffs. So I'd be interested to see kind of how they work out the lineups in any given series. But once again, I would not want to play them in a one game off in the playoffs, and I would not want to play them in a first round series as a high seed. Like, except for OKC, I would be terrified if I'm one of the other teams.
And even, I don't know, I think that's an interesting series from OKC. I would not want to catch them if on the off chance Kawhi is healthy for the whole series. That's fucking scary. I'm sorry. Like, that's...
Nah, I'm not worried about that. Think said it before. I think the Uno's kryptonite would be the point of attack defense on OKC. But
I mean, Dortcher, that is going back to when Dort was I think it was like Dort's first year in the league, right? When that
Rockets he was a rookie the bubble year. Yeah.
The Dortcher chamber. Yeah.
But long story short here, the last thing I want to say, other than Zach's non-corporate shots at Matt Ishbia, which
awesome.
Zach unleashed a little bit, saying 26 other teams would want your situation. Right
I mean,
now,
that was insane.
26 EuroLeague teams.
That was beast.
That was a bar.
Yeah.
Zach said, "Can't leave Rap alone. The game needs me."
You can tell that hurt Bill's feelings though, because Bill got tricked by the Suns. That
was your big thing. That you were like the whole preseason. You were like, "What the fuck is Bill and Russillo talking about?"
Well, I've never been more baffled because, like, I think all three of those guys know ball. Like, I make fun of Bill and Russillo,
Yeah.
but like at House too, all three of those guys know ball pretty well. I've never been more baffled than all of them locking
the Suns over and saying they were going to be like one of the three best teams in the West.
That was like so insane to me. The other thing on this pod, Bill was like, "Yeah, I knew the Sixers were going to be one of the worst teams in the NBA." I'm like, "No, you didn't."
He said he took their under because of the Paul George thing, and it's very obvious that the Embiid thing is the real problem with this team.
So that's what I was going to say. What Bill was actually saying is I knew Embiid was hurt before the year, which none of us, you and I were pissed about that because we both took the Sixers
We did it early. Yeah.
We did it early. Nobody, they gave us Sixers season ticket holder treatment where they waited until fucking like
the day before the season to be like, he's out.
Season to be like, oh yeah, he's still hurt, by the way. You know?
Yeah.
So
we got rug pulled by the Sixers.
Yeah, we did get rug pulled. They hawk two at us.
Yeah, take that over. You know, that they're just selling. They're hitting the under. Josh Harris is
he's rug pulled by Daryl Morey.
He's going to Fanatic Sportsbook. He's calling Michael Rubin. Insider trading. But
that really is what happened to us.
That's 100%.
We were so pissed that first week. We were like, "What? He's hurt." You didn't fucking tell us.
Bontemps fell for it too. Bontemps was like, "This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my entire life. The Philadelphia 76ers should be abolished." Also, Zach did throw a subtle shot at our guy Bontemps. I know he likes Bontemps, but he did throw a subtle shot when they were talking about Evan Mobley, and he was definitely referring to Bontemps' comments about Evan Mobley being the new Derek Favors. Do you remember when he said that? A year ago?
I don't.
He said that last year. And he said, he was like, he's like, everyone wanted to compare Mobley to like Zach likes Bontemps. I think he was just
I think Bontemps is like everyone ribs Bontemps. I think everyone likes Bontemps, but they also like make fun of him a lot.
He said he was like those people in the media that were comparing him to all these disappointing centers. And that was definitely the thing that he referenced in there. But the last final thing I wanted to say on this, just occasionally you get like when someone who knows ball co-signs one of your opinions, you feel good about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Zach saying that AJ Johnson is a guy, I was like, I feel good about that because I've watched him a little bit and I've been like, I like this guy, House. I like this guy.
AJ Johnson.
By the way, AJ Johnson, do you want to guess how many assists that AJ Johnson averages?
Interesting.
Because I was like, he can kind of pass. I looked it up. He's only played 400 minutes, and it's usually like 20 minutes a game, to be clear.
So is it like 4 per 100 or something?
4.7 per 36.
Per
Only
36?
2 turnovers per 36. And the shooting has a long way to go, but he takes outrageous shots.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I'm like, he takes really long threes. He doesn't take easy ones. And he shoots in like the high 20s, like 28 or 29%. But the free throws, he's at like 80-something%. And I'm just saying, I think that long-term, the Bucks are really going to regret trading him away, especially considering the circumstances where they traded him for Kyle Kuzma.
I'm gonna say this about the Wizards. I caught us up on I scored because we're a little closer to the end of the year. I scored our preseason over-unders for what was available. I gave us the Spurs. Technically the Spurs aren't mathematically at their under yet, but they would have to win like 6 of their last 8 or whatever.
Yeah, they would have went over if Wemby stayed healthy.
If Wemby stayed healthy, they probably would have went out. But that was also part of it. You know, I think that is kind of part of why we picked the under too. But the Wizards, I haven't closed out the Wizards one yet. And it's like they would need 5 wins to get there, but like they've been playing.
Well,
so
our reasoning was like, are we sure that this team's going to suck really badly? Yeah. And also, are we sure they aren't going to blow it up? We didn't know that would be a positive thing for their win.
They got better after they blew it up.
They've got better. It's the rare blow it up. By the way, I just want to say, I've never been the Wizards' new front office has not shown me anything to believe in them. This deadline was kind of a masterclass. I can't even front it anymore. Like you have. Okay, so you have the Marcus Smart trade, which now the Grizzlies pick is 20. They got the Grizzlies. It's lottery protected. So if they fall out entirely, okay, maybe they don't get the pick this year. But if they are like the 17th, they can end up like the 17th or 18th pick here.
Yeah.
Then they literally just got that for taking on 1.5 seasons of Marcus Smart's contract. They got off like Marvin.
He's a good vet in like loser situations too. I just want to like put that out there too. Like, yeah, obviously, like
the Grizzlies. I mean, look, a bit aside, he barely played for the Grizzlies at the end, but like him and Laravia losing like the locker room presence of a veteran like Smart, and then Laravia more so on the court, like it clearly played a part in addition to Brandon Clark getting injured. But the last part of this, that Chris Middleton Kuzma trade is a fucking masterclass.
It's absurd. I mean, that was crazy that they were like the Bucks were giving up value for one of the worst players in the NBA for Chris Middleton, who I understand Chris Middleton is hurt. He's a good fucking player. Like, he's a sub all-star player when he's healthy. Like, I know he's old now and probably not quite at that level. That was crazy.
So they gave up, just to summarize here, they gave up Johnny Davis, one of the biggest busts in NBA history, Marvin Bagley, who they just took on in a salary dump, and Kyle Kuzma, and then also, by the way, Jared Butler to the Sixers. Technically, it's one of those picks that's almost certainly going to be like the 28th to 30th pick in the draft for that salary dump, and they gave up 4 seconds to make it happen. But they basically sent 4 second-round picks, Kyle Kuzma, Johnny Davis, Marvin Bagley. They got Chris Middleton, Marcus Smart, and AJ Johnson, who's basically a first-round pick, if not more, with the potential upside that he has. And 2 first-round picks. Like, that's like a masterclass deadline. They really played the fact that this is when we talk about, like, the advantage of being bad. This is the kind of shit that, like, bad teams need to do at the deadline instead of just being like, we won't take phone calls on anyone because we're happy with our team.
Yeah. Weaver and the boys, like, I just got to say, I never doubted you. I
forgot Weaver's there now. Oh my God. Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I never doubted you. I never believed in you. Like, we're up. Bilal kind of fell off. Bub had a rough year, but Cooper Flag, when you're there next year, it's all coming. By the way, I'm no matter what, I will be buying a Cooper Flag jersey, no matter where he lands. So. Even your Sixers, I will even buy.
Then you can just pander.
Yeah, exactly.
Sixers Sam can be back, but
yeah.
Anyway, all right. Let's talk about the play-in teams real quick. First off, I have a moral question to ask you.
Okay.
Is it okay to be a regular play-in team? Is it morally acceptable to be mid? Because Trey Kirby came on here 2 years ago and was like, someone's got to be mid.
Somebody's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it. It's not the best paying gig, but someone's got to do it. This was when the Bulls were like the 7th seed, by the way.
I want to say this. I do think it is a little different when you have who we now can say is unquestionably the god of Mickey Mouse March and Josh Giddey on your team. It does make it like kind of impossible, like to like fall out of that. Did you see that? Like the second the calendar went to April, he went back to being ass immediately.
Amazing.
That's awesome, dude. He's so cool.
When I think about morality, I think about Josh Giddey.
Yeah, Josh Giddey has never done anything.
The shining beacon of morality.
Yeah, nothing morally questionable at any point happening. Anyway, but I do think like the Bulls, the Hawks. You had a very funny tweet about like the Bulls, the Hawks, and the Heat.
That's like the grouping in the East. The only team I think that we also should talk about is the Kings, because the Kings are, since that kind of outlier year, are basically always stuck in that 7 to 10 range.
Their championship window, yeah. They were in the mix.
And people forget that first round series that they lost.
I'm telling you, if they beat the Warriors, man, like it would have been a fucking movie. Like Jokic had no idea what was coming.
Well, at least they have the Oakland A's there now in Sacramento.
Is that true?
You didn't know that?
No, I thought they were going to Vegas.
Well, they don't have anywhere to go.
Oh,
so that's the fun part, is that It's very funny to me when people do the hand wringing about the NBA ratings, because we've talked about this. My friend Dan will always be like, the MLB can't even sell their teams. like Oakland, basically, the owner moved it without a new stadium set up in Vegas.
Oh my God.
And so they have to play in a minor league stadium in Sacramento this year.
How did I not know about that?
It's amazing. I actually horrible dystopian fuck sports owners. That's bullshit. They stole the team away. There are less fans now, but it looks sold out because it's at a minor league stadium. If I lived in Sacramento, I'd be like, this is pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, this is sick. Yeah.
Like low key. I'd be like, nothing happens in Sacramento. We get a fucking the Kings are kind of mid this year, but we got a fucking baseball team for a year. This is sick.
That's beast. Yeah. What, Memphis won't take them, or what are these other non-baseball towns?
I'm not informed on this. I can't really give my full opinion on here. Apparently the A's, the owners kind of go on rogue and it's a whole thing. But long story short, comparatively, if the worst team in the NBA, if the Charlotte Hornets sold, they could sell them right away.
Yeah.
It was his point, was when everyone freaks out about the ratings and the profits and whatever. But long story short on this,
Celtics literally sold for $6 billion, which I do think was a little.
If the Yankees sold, that would also be a historic.
I do think it is a little different though, because that's kind of funny. You know what I'm saying? I know that they're a prestige. They're a prestige. It's more like the Steelers being sold. I feel than where it's a prestige thing, but
they
not
just
really
topped the Commanders. That was. Yeah. I know the Commanders aren't thought of to be a national brand like the Steelers, but they were very good for a very long time.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other hilarious thing, is that the Bruins, who are the fucking dog shit franchise that nobody likes, are the ones who technically own the TD Garden, which is awesome.
It's the same thing with the Flyers here.
Yeah.
Bully Josh Harris around. He doesn't deserve it.
Yeah. Poor Josh Harris. We're our number one guy, Josh Harris. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, the play-in is, I don't know.
Morally repugnant.
It's, look, here's what it is very funny that Zach did a whole spiel on I was surprised. Were you surprised? Sorry, I don't mean to go back. I just thought of this. Were you surprised Zach was anti-NBA Cup?
A little bit, but also that's kind of old curmudgeon-y Zach.
Yeah.
I don't care. Yeah. Bobby Marks, I don't care. Zach just likes to go Larry David mode sometimes. And funny enough, Larry David also doesn't like the NBA Cup.
Yeah,
he came out against it on Bill's podcast and said it doesn't make any sense because teams have to ramp up for it, and then you're ramping up or you ramping down. What are we doing here? And then the Bucks and the Lakers kind of sucked after both of theirs. So maybe he was cooking.
I mean, that's true. My counterpoint would be, the NBA Cup is bad on this delightful March, February, April basketball we get every year.
Right. 5 or 6 teams are literally playing. Did you see the Wheeler thing with Philip Wheeler, who plays for the Sixers, didn't have a Wikipedia page?
No.
Chiodo was this is the first time I've ever seen this. He couldn't find any information on him. And
That's
literally
crazy.
Was he does it. Chiodo went through and was here's a list of every undrafted player in NBA history, and Philip Wheeler isn't even on here.
It's amazing.
So someone created a page that day. I'm not even kidding. Someone went on and created an undraft, said he's undrafted in 2021. It was amazing. Now he has one, but he did not have one before.
I was gonna say, shout out to Chiodo. I retweeted Chiodo. Tweeted the Patrick Beverley celebration on the man because I guess last night the Sixers officially passed last year's Grizzlies for using the most starting lineups in NBA.
I think.
Yeah, in NBA history. So
amazing.
Yeah, incredible.
Absolutely amazing. But it's been such a wonderful season for our Philadelphia 76ers. Yeah. But they're being morally sound by throwing every game. Let's talk about these teams that want to compete and make the 9 seed.
Gross.
But so here was my thing for each team. I had a note on each team.
Okay.
How do they turn things around, I guess? Get out of purgatory, the play-in purgatory zone?
Yeah.
For Atlanta, I literally just wrote stay the course. I think they're kind of in a good spot.
They're out of all of the play-in teams, I think they're in the best spot.
Yes, because they have young talent. So they sent out the picks in the DeJounte trade, but Will's pointed this out to me. I don't know if they really even lost the DeJounte trade all that badly if they're mid for the next few years. Because all right, so right now, if you look at it, their pick is going to the Spurs and it's the 15th pick in the draft. But if you, wait, hold on. Am I getting this wrong? Because they do have a first round pick this year, right? Oh yeah. So they own the pick. All right. Do they own the Kings pick? I think they own the Kings pick protected. If I remember correctly,
I think they got a pick back in the subsequent.
Yeah, it's 13. Swap, right? So right now they have 13 from the Kings, and I believe that's like top 12 protected or something from the Herder trade.
Yeah,
and then the Spurs have their pick, which is 15, so that's a little bit lower. Yeah. And then there was another piece of this where like in the swap years. Like how much
they also have the Lakers pick this year, which I think they got from.
So his point was that they kind of salvaged the DeJounte trade a little bit by getting the Lakers pick this year, by getting Dyson Daniels. Like, would you rather have Dyson Daniels or the 15th pick in this draft?
I think I would rather have Dyson Daniels at this point, to be totally honest.
So that was like his point was that like turning around and making that trade made it so that the DeJounte trade was not as bad as it seemed when we were talking about this like a year ago. We were like, oh my God, they're so fucked, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Well, now they have like a potential all-star in Jalen Johnson. Ricochet's coming into his own. Trae Young, I don't think Trae should ask out. Like, I think Trae Young should now like kind of ride this out and see what this team can grow into.
Yeah, well, and also because like I was going to say, because I've always been like, you got to trade him. I've been saying they should trade Trae Young. For the returns you're going to get for Trae Young, fucking why bother? Yeah, stay the course. The point you made about like Ricochet, like we went from like, because I didn't really know what to make of Ricochet. Like, is he going to take a long time? Is he going to kind of be a bust? And he's a starter, like, and will occasionally go off, like, so he's here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think Ricochet is like here and ready to play. They still we locked the Atlanta over. Jalen Johnson went down like 15 games into the season or something like that. And
no. I mean, he played like half the season.
Was it half the season?
He played like he went down 40 or 50 games, I think. Yeah.
He went down early and they still hit that pretty comfortably. Like that's over. Like they did that. Like
I'm not the biggest Terrence Mann guy, but like he's a rotation player. I mean, I still probably would prefer. I guess I would. That was kind of a nothing trade to me. That was kind of a weird trade to me.
One.
Yeah. That was kind of a weird trade on the whole, but they have like.
I do want to point out. Last time we had the podcast, we said that trade was very bad because they took on the extra years of Terrence.
Oh right, because they also sent out second round picks.
Yeah, we did.
That's the shitty. That was a bad trade.
We can't do that.
That was a bad trade.
We can't back to back.
That's fair. Yeah. Especially because I was like, you also salary dumped DeAndre Hunter. That was stupid.
Yeah. Bad. Yeah.
But I still think for the long term outcomes, they should stay the course. Like. Yeah. No drastic moves, no trading Trae.
See what you have make more sense longer term.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Trades, I will say. Yeah.
Let Capella expire. Maybe sign him on like a backup deal for next year because he's like pretty washed at this point. See what you have with the Kongwu. Maybe draft someone because this is the range right now for the Bulls and the Hawks who will be selecting in this range. Okay, ready?
Mm-hmm.
The Bulls have 10 right now. The Hawks have 13. So the Heat, we'll also talk about the Heat too, and the Heat have 11 right now.
Mm-hmm.
So Derek Queen is projected to be the 10th pick. Jeremiah Fears is projected to be 11. Jace Richardson is projected to be 12. Colin Murray-Boyles is projected to be 13. Igor Demin is projected to be 14. Liam McNeely is projected to be 15. Nolan Traore, is that how you say his name? I'm not really sure. Yeah. And then Noah Esangou or whatever. I can't say his name, but I kind of like him a little bit. The athletic wing from France that I literally just learned about a week ago, but I've watched some of him and he's intriguing to say the least. This range right here, it will fluctuate, obviously, but there are some upside swings in this range. And there are also guys like Atlanta might not even need to take an upside swing. Like
Yeah.
Atlanta might just be able to like draft a role player.
Yeah.
Like they could draft Jace Richardson.
And I was just gonna say, if they got Jace Richardson, they're fucking cooking with gas. Like, if they had honestly, even someone like Sorber, who's like projected to still be on the board here, I think would be like honestly a pretty good like fit with them. Like it's small with they would be kind of small with Okongwu like on the front court still, but like that's like another like fun, interesting big. Like there's a lot of wrinkles they could have there. Like they should just stay the course. And how many more picks do they owe the Spurs? Just one more after this, right?
I think it's just next year. It might be 2 years.
Okay.
But I think it's just next year. I could be wrong. Jonathan will tell us in the comments. He's a Spurs fan.
Yeah.
So the Bulls for this range, because we'll talk about the Bulls now.
Yeah.
The Bulls, to me, are the team that needs to take the upside swing. Like, if they're drafting this range, what they did with Buzelis last year, which completely did not like that pick, didn't get it for them, I was wrong. I think he has potential to be the best player in this class. I think that because everyone will be like, you guys were too hard on Ricochet. I was like, no, we were just hard on him because he was the first pick. Like, you had him like 7 on your board. I had him like 9 on my board. We didn't think he was a bad player.
No.
I was wrong about Buzelis, straight up.
Yes.
I think he's good.
Very noble of you to fall on the sword, because I was very much the Buzelis hater. Like I was the one
But we both were just way off because he had this disaster year last year with the G League. I think that's the most wrong of any player I was in this whole draft.
For sure.
I think that he very clearly is one of the 3 or 4 best players in this draft, with possibly the highest ceiling if things fall into place for him. If he puts on a little bit more strength, if the shot continues to grow, if the passing gets better, like I think that he's like a real guy.
Yeah.
And so I would still take another upside swing here in this range. Yeah. Who do you think of the Derek Queen, Jeremiah Fears, Jace Richardson, Colin Murray brothers? Who do you think of anyone in this like 10 to 17 range? Because I have a guy who I think they'll take, and I have a guy who I would take.
So, I mean, if you want upside, I mean, I would just take my own personal drafting philosophy. I think Jace Richardson, of the guys like that we're listing out in this is clearly the has the highest floor. I think he fits very well. I think you're just getting a positive player at that thing. I do think the highest upside here is Jeremiah Fears, though.
I agree.
Yeah.
That was the guy that I wrote down.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
He has star qualities.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't believe in them necessarily, but they're there. Like,
the size concerns with him, we'll see what he measures at the combine.
Yeah.
Because he's listed at 6'4", but he looks like he's 6'1" or 6'2" when you watch him play. Now, maybe if he is like, I'm telling you, if he's a legit 6'3", though, I'm kind of like intrigued by him because he is in that mold where like he has the star qualities, but also like, I think it was Wasserman from Bleacher Report did his mock draft. And I didn't love these comps, to be clear, but he had Jaden Ivey and Scoot Henderson as 2 of his comps. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's a little scary because like they have star qualities, but they didn't, at least so far, have not lived up to their pre-draft hype.
Yeah.
The thing with Fears is he's a walking paint touch.
Yeah.
The thing that impresses me the most about his profile when you watch him and just looking at some of the numbers, he can like, he's not a great finisher around the rim, but he always draws contact in the paint and like gets to the line a lot, is a really good free throw shooter. The floater game seems to be pretty real. His shooting profile reminds me a lot of Maxey from college, where he doesn't take great shots, so it sinks his percentage, but the floater game, the free throw percentage, the non-rim twos, he shot 45% on non-rim twos this year on high volume. Like that is like, he shot like 85% from the line, I think. The floater looks real. The touch on the layups doesn't look terrible. And a lot of the, once again, it's kind of similar to the Maxey thing where like a lot of these things are not easy. He's finishing over a lot of defenders. And if that is the case, then I kind of think that he has potential to eventually be a shooter. And if he gets there, that makes everything fall into place for him because he is like legitimately explosive. He's a good athlete. He has star qualities. And honestly, the defense isn't like completely terrible from what I've seen.
No, I honestly, the shooting is the question. The problem is when you're a guard, if there's questions about the shooting, that's just inherently very scary to me. Like, and
of course,
it's a little rare to see guys,
especially for stars. Yeah,
it's just a little rare to see guys get there. That's honestly the main thing. I actually like pretty much every other thing about Fierce's game outside of like that. It's just so problematic when you can't shoot. Now, I think there actually is a decent chance the Bulls draft him because it wouldn't make any sense with their current roster construction.
I think they'd just take Queen if this was the way the board broke.
I mean, the Bulls
as the Vooch replacement.
That would be like a very Bulls.
We got another post big who's questionable defensively, but like the scoring really pops at times.
This is the thing with my thing with Derek Queen is he's my Jacoby Walter this year, where I'm like everything is screaming he's not going to be a good pro.
He's a way better prospect than Jacoby Walter. Like I even have to admit, as someone who is like skeptical of what he will be in the NBA, there's an outcome where I still think that like his ceiling, and this is something that we've discussed in the Discord a lot. Yeah. I think his ceiling is like very good NBA player who caps your ceiling.
Yeah.
And that is still a worthy gamble in the lottery of a lot of drafts when you don't have good players. Like
getting
Sabonis, Randall. Like those are the kind of guys
fine.
I'm thinking for ceiling comps for him.
He's not athletic enough though. That like he's not going to be those guys.
And also those guys took like 5 or 6 years. Like they're not first contract guys.
No.
But long story short, the thing with Queen is that a lot of the stuff is theoretical with him. Like the shooting looks good, but he doesn't make threes.
Yeah.
The passing looks good, but he doesn't get assists. So like you're projecting long-term with him more so than like getting like Jace Richardson will be a rotation player from day one. You can plug him into your rotation. You're not going to have any problems.
My beautiful Jace. I'm going to be shocked if he's not in the top 10, by the way, by the time the draft comes around.
Well, they would have the 10th pick in the draft right now if they lose in the play-in.
Yeah.
So that's still the range that I think he'll be in. Now, look, these kind of guys that like we have talked about like are a little bit undervalued in the draft. Cason Wallace is probably the most recent example of this.
Yeah.
Cason Wallace went like 10th or 12th.
Yeah, like that's true. Yeah.
Like I think he went 12th if I remember correctly. So like you
Devin
can
Carter
get value.
Hurt, but like Devin Carter was another guy like that, like
and these guys are like Cason, like Jace was a one and done.
Yeah.
And so that's if you're looking for a guy you can play right away. But once again, really doesn't make sense with the Bulls if Kobe White and Giddey are like a part of their future.
Well, and so that's the thing. If we want to talk about what should the Bulls be doing, I mean, they're not going to do this. They should be sign and trading Josh Giddey this offseason.
I wrote reasonable extension for Giddey, $18 to $20 million a year, and I wouldn't go anything above that.
And I think we're heading for a crazy standoff because Giddey's reps are going to point to Mickey Mouse March, and they're going to say this is a $30 million player. Like
of course,
that is 100% going to happen.
They should do that as if they're
if you're the representation, you should do that. I'm concerned the Bulls are stupid enough to do that. Yeah, like that is my concern, and I think that is immediately going to be one of the worst contracts in the NBA because he is a terrible player 5 out of the 6 months of the year.
Every board's going to be electric in Chicago, though.
Yeah. And it
that would be funny if they just branded themselves as like the play-in team who gets hot during March.
Yeah, don't let us get hot during March. Like
the Mickey Mouse March Bulls are just electric.
It's a shame because like Kobe White is good, like Matas Bazelis, like I would feel better about like their rebuild because like we've talked about Patrick Williams. I'm not a Patrick Williams fan, but like at least Patrick Williams like gives you like a placeholding. He's like one of the Elden Ring ghosts that show you how somebody died. Where he's showing you what a competent like small forward would be doing. Like he's imitating a small forward, even if he's not actually like doing those things. So you can still kind of like build your team around that concept of having a normal small forward. Like
I've said that he has basketball seasonal affective disorder.
Yeah.
Where he gets sad during the season. but he's still like fairly confident. He can do his job, but like he's hanging on by a thread. We all can relate to that feeling.
Yeah, just like I don't get paid $30 million. I get paid $45K a year, which is very different. I think I'm allowed to be sad about that, but if you are getting paid $30 million a year, I do want you to be a little more happy about it. But it's incredible. But I think the Bulls, like Bazelis is good. Like, look, I'm not a Vooch guy. I've never been a Vooch guy, but like he's been good this year.
I wrote down trade Vooch.
Yeah, trade Vooch. I think it's a good time
to like expiring. Also, just go youth movement.
Yeah, go youth.
See what you have, and maybe honestly, that's the best way to do this because there's a possibility that they underperform next year, and next year's draft is even better than this draft.
Yeah, you could have Boozer next year. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Dude, the top 3 in the next draft. Like I was like I don't know if you saw the high school All-American game was on last night, but like
no,
Dibanasta, Darren Peterson, Boozer, like those are like from what I'm told, they would be number 1 picks in an average draft, and they're all going to be a next year's draft.
I was going to say I knew Dibanasta and Boozer are like legit.
Darren Peterson is like an SGA variant.
Ooh, interesting. I have not heard about him at all. But
hold on, question.
Yeah,
is Elijah Arenas in the next draft too, or is that 2 years away?
I think that's got to be 2 years away.
That's got to be 2 years. He's going. He was in the game, but I think he's 2 years away. Yeah,
I think
because he's another one that is like, yeah. I don't want to get caught up.
Can you imagine if Cooper Flagg didn't reclassify?
Oh my! That would have been the greatest draft since like.
It could have been the greatest draft of all time. Like one of the best drafts of all time.
80, what was the great one? 84.
Yeah,
84 with Hakeem, Barkley, and Jordan in the top 5.
Yeah,
2003, of course.
2003,
obviously.
Yeah, 2003. So yeah,
the Darko draft.
That what Carmelo, Wade, Bosch 4-3-4-5. Like,
don't even bring up Melo's name today. I'm so fucking. I literally rage quit the DM earlier because I can't do the Carmelo Anthony Hall of Fame conversation.
You don't want to do it right now?
No, absolutely not. No, I know where you stand on it, and I know where I stand on it. He's a surefire Hall of Famer. It's ridiculous to think otherwise.
He is. He's definitely a surefire Hall of Famer because of his college play.
We're not doing it. We're not doing it.
Hold on. Can I
just say Al Horford deserves to get in because of his college play and then say Carmelo Anthony is a merchant.
Oh, he deserves to get in because of his college play. I'm very consistent on that. No, here's what I'm going to say. Here's all I'll say about Carmelo Anthony. It's very cool to see that Kobe Bryant still would have been a Hall of Famer even if he didn't get backpacked to those championships.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's the only thing I wanted to put out here. Yeah. That's the only thing I wanted to put out here. Like,
yeah, the Olympic stuff is just undeniable, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good to know Kobe still would have made it if he didn't have Shaq and Pau. So
yeah, famous big man merchant.
Yeah.
So all right. Back to the all right, so the Bulls, we already covered them. Mm-hmm. What do you think the Heat do? Because I didn't even have anything for the Heat. I'm like,
they're
might not have their pick this year too. Yeah. That's the other thing. And honestly, so from what I understand, I'm gonna fuck this up, the explanation. But if their pick does convey this year, I think they're actually worse off.
Oh, really?
Because I think that it does that thing where it pushes back one of their picks and it becomes unprotected from the Terry Rozier trade.
Oh my God.
So they won't have picks for they won't be able to trade 3 years worth of picks. So yeah, next year becomes unprotected and then 28 becomes unprotected too. And they can't trade 27. So if they miss the play-in, because I think it's lottery protected, if they miss the play-in, I'm sorry, if they lose in the play-in, that's kind of a disaster for them. Yeah. They're a team that assuredly wants to make the playoffs, so they just give away their pick. And OKC doesn't, because OKC gets their unprotected pick next year, and then the Hornets would get it 3 years out, unprotected.
I do think so. Here's my thing about the Heat. They're kind of weird where they're kind of locked into competence for longer. Because I do wonder how much worse Miami's going to be next year than they are right now.
Kyle, turn the TikTok camera on.
Okay.
Are we sure Eric Spoelstra is going to be the coach of the Heat for the next 4 years?
Ooh.
Honestly, like, at what point does it get to where he's like, all right, I don't have a chance to win a championship here?
I mean, you'd think they would just trade Jaime Jaquez and move on.
Yeah, really boost morale in
Yeah.
household.
Oh God. I wonder with Spo being the age he is and how they love to be like a little mafia family. I wonder if Spo doesn't have a Brad Stevens style
people have
promise.
Theorized that before.
Yeah.
That's
somebody literally said that in the comments.
Sorry. Yeah, Nate just commented that. Yeah. So you stole Nate's idea.
I stole it.
But I've heard people say that before. That would make more sense to me if Spo's like, I'm done with coaching. Let me just be and honestly, he'd be really good at that. He would always get really good undrafted guys. Yeah. And I'm sure they have some assistant coach that we don't know of.
Yeah, they have some demon. They have some, just like him. He was the little film room demon that they like summoned up. You know, he's gonna. It would be like
Nikias is going to be the coach.
That's what I was going to say. You just hire
one of the dunker spot guys. Yes. It worked last year to get someone from Old Man of the Three Network for the Lakers. I'm just saying.
Is that? Hold on. Are podcasters? Is that the new like the zig to the zag? Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're a protected class now, podcasters. We are the chosen ones.
What if they get me to coach the Heat? You know, because it's kind of that like tsundere thing.
I'd support it, of course.
In anime, like where if you don't like your, you know, if you're rivals, it's very much like a yaoi thing where like people that you don't like, you come together with the people that you don't like. You know, so I could be the next great Miami Heat superstar.
Nikias is just texting Tyler Hero game plans in parentheses.
Let's go. Steve, okay, I'm going to say this. Unironically, I do think the dunker spot guys as a coaching staff would probably be better than like 50%. the coaches in the NBA. JJ Philroom has.
They just need a figure. I was going to say they need a figurehead, and they could just be like the best assistant coaches in the NBA.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, we hire like a fake.
Well, Steve literally already was an assistant coach, to be clear.
That's true. Yeah.
He already has experience. Yeah.
Yeah, he already knows the system. Yeah.
Let's bring him in. So if you are Miami, I would say you hope to give your pick away to OKC. They want to make the 8 seed. Is what I'm trying to say. Because they're the 9 seed right now. By the way, we could be staring down the barrel of them knocking out the Heat or knocking out the Bulls 3 straight years in the play-in, which is very depressing. But this year it would be in the 9-10 game. Of any team, they should want to make the playoffs more because then they'll control their pick next year.
Yeah.
And they'll give away like the 16th pick in the draft or something to OKC and just take their medicine right now. If they miss the playoffs, the player in this range that I'd be interested to see what direction they go in. That French guy feels like it would be like a Miami Heat upside swing. Noah, whatever his name is, Essenglu or French.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. The athletic, big wing. They're going to take swings. They're either going to trade for KD or they're going to take swings.
I posted this online the other day, but I'm reminded looking at Tankathon again. Do you know how many picks right now are scheduled in the outside the lottery to convey to the team that the pick is like been earmarked for? So like not giving the pick away. Like the how many teams are going to have their own pick outside?
It's not a lot, especially if the Sixers give their pick to OKC.
Yes.
It's not a lot.
Outside of the lottery, it is
outside of the lottery. Yeah.
Outside of the lottery, it is 3 teams
that have their own pick.
Yes. Only 3 teams have their own pick. It's Boston, Orlando, and Indiana are the only teams with their own pick. Every other pick is being conveyed to a different team.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Boston trades theirs on draft night.
It's totally possible.
100%. That's wild, dude. Oh my God. That's like fucking insane how much this is where we're at with the pick thing, where like we've talked about like the freeze in the market in terms of like teams not having first round picks to trade. And then also on top of that, like 4 teams having all the first round picks right now. So we'll see if that gets a shake up this year, especially if some of these picks end up conveying. But yeah, if I had to guess, I would guess they take a swing on like the French guy. I could also kind of see Igor Domin being a guy for them. They generally don't draft small. Like Tyler Hero is the exception. Jaime Jaquez is big. Jovic is big. Bam is big. Ware is big. They don't draft guards really.
No.
Now they might see Fears as like the upside swing guy here and be like, who cares? We passed on Tyrese Maxey these years ago because we didn't think he would fit with Tyler Hero. Let's just go for talent. There's also a chance. People have said they could be the KD team, but like, what salaries would that work with? Because I don't think that the Suns would want Hero, and I don't think they're trading Hero for him. I don't think Bam is someone they're trading. What salaries would work in a KD trade for the Heat to get them out of this range?
So I guess Terry Rozier would have to be involved in this trade, right?
If you're the Suns, you're like, I'm taking Terry Rozier's contract now.
Yeah, Wiggins. It's Wiggins, Terry Rozier.
They have Wiggins though.
Yeah. So, and then you've got like you do have like some sweeteners though. Like Jaime Jaquez came back down to earth, but like I think Jovic has like real value. And would be like kind of an interesting like reset button.
So you could do like Wiggins, Jovic, and Rozier in a pick for KD. It's pretty depressing if you're Phoenix. I'd probably just keep KD at that point, but like they seem like kind of set on trading KD and also never doing anything different.
Yeah,
you could talk into Wiggins and Jovic.
The Suns trades are so hard because I don't know like what the obvious thing is you trade both Booker and KD and you just reset. You just take your medicine and hard reset, like, and try to get like young guys and prospects.
You could definitely scam Ishbia with Jaime Jaquez. That's a good point, especially because don't they literally play games in Mexico City? They do like the Los Suns thing.
Yeah,
great marketing opportunity.
Yeah, and he would. Yeah, no, he would definitely. Perfect. Yeah. Oh God, that would be bad. I don't know if Eric Spoelstra wants to bring KD in. We've talked about this a little bit. KD, like, not to go full boomer mode.
Do you think he's worried about his ex-wife? I'm sorry. Continue.
I just like KD kind of has become like a little bit of. I did not expect that. A little bit of a coach killer, like in like his later like career. You know what I'm saying? Like he does like.
That feels like a Pat Riley, like I'm dying in 4 years move.
Yeah, I guess that is true. Like, but I don't think he would like get along with like. I don't think KD would vibe with like Pat Riley's shtick at all. Like when Pat Riley calls him crying about like how much he loves him, like I think KD would be like very weirded out by that. Like he's an irony poisoned freak like us. Like
that's true.
Yeah,
that is very true.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, and KD also is like getting. It's funny because everyone's like freaking out over the LeBron Stephen A. Smith thing.
Yeah,
KD is getting like the brunt of media right now.
Yes,
like people are like. Basically calling KD a piece of shit on television on an everyday basis. And he's just like rolling with the punches and just like telling him to fuck off on Twitter.
Unironically better treatment than he got from Warriors fans when he was on their team. So
well, they wanted him back this time, and then people have said if the Warriors win multiple playoff series or make a run this year, that they'll build a Bradley Beal statue outside for the no trade clause thing. Because if they got Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
If the Suns got Jimmy Butler, the Warriors never get Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
That could be an alter NBA history moment. Thank you, Dewey.
For those of you audio only, Dewey is like mogging the camera. Yeah. He's
literally like loafing right next to the camera, and now he's trying to talk in chat. All right, Dewey.
He's putting the biggest blue steel, like he literally did just like look smog trill.
God damn it. Awesome. He sent a message in chat.
Yeah. He sent brace
bracket slash.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dewey.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dewey. All right. I think I need to let him out of here. I think that's his cue to be like, get me the fuck out of this room.
Yeah. Right. We're letting Dewey out. Yeah. I mean, my thing I would just say, like, for our beloved listeners, I don't think the KD thing, I feel like KD is going to need to go somewhere. I don't think KD is going to be like interested in the Miami Heat, like, because I think he's probably going to see the writing on the wall that they're not really in contention. Like they're just kind of stuck. So I don't think that KD is going to want to go there. I think he's going to be more interested in like your Wolves,
Houston,
some of these other destinations where there's like a little bit like more.
I agree with
upside. Yeah, like so.
He would love to live in Miami, though, to be clear. And I think that he might be at that stage of his career where he's like, I just kind of want to live somewhere chill.
I think Miami, I don't think there's anything Miami can really do this offseason. I think you just kind of got to keep toughing it out, and wait for your moment. Maybe Tyler Hero gets hot again, and it's like at the right moment when somebody like is desperate, like, and you can do a Kyle Kuzma style unload, like where you get like.
Has KD ever made a statement on the Castro administration? Is that something that could potentially?
Don't think he has, and he got into the Palantir like security firm stuff like pretty easily, like when he was in the Bay Area. So like KD could be a huge friend of Cuba.
He's bringing his talents to South Beach in a different way.
God damn it. So when he gets traded for Wiggins again, they call it the Bay of Wigs. Got him.
God damn it.
Got him. Bang.
The Hoggies are going to love that one.
Yeah.
Bay of Wigs.
Got it, baby.
Unbelievable. So let's talk about the Kings.
I was going to say.
That's the last like, perennial. I literally just wrote blow it up.
That's the most depressing.
It's over. Your best players are DeMar DeRozan, Sabonis,
Zach LaVine,
Monk, and Zach LaVine. The DeMar Zach thing already didn't work. Sabonis is now like, what are we doing? Monk is like, also, I re-signed here because I wanted to play with Fox for less money than I probably could have gotten. Then you traded Fox. I don't think it's an ideal situation right now. I wrote explore Sabonis and Monk trades. Write out the DeMar DeRozan contract because I don't think you're getting anything good back for him, and probably for Zach LaVine as well.
This is like very there's like a philosophical question to be like asked of like the concept of like the Maloofs versus like Vivek Ranadive like as owners, like where it's like,
I think it's going to be very clear that Vivek is worse very soon for one specific reason.
Well, what I was going to say is it's like how much do intentions matter? Yeah. Well, it's like what do good intentions like it's a philosophical question. Does it matter if someone is well intentioned? If all they do is ruin your life.
Yeah, that's true. Like he's like such an optimist that it's actually ruining everyone's life.
Yeah, like Vivek. I feel bad because like most bad owners are like the Maloofs, where they're just doing like Ponzi scheme shit with like a
like
public
venture
good.
Capital. Like
yeah. They're doing that. I do genuinely think Vivek is like trying his best and just has like too much enthusiasm and just keeps like ruining everyone's life through like sheer wanting to like the confidence you get from being like a tech guy. You know what I'm saying? Like he really is like the rational optimism. He answers the question, what if Sam Bankrun Fraud had gotten away with it long enough to own an NBA team? Like Vivek answers that question. That is like the rational optimism, like conclusion. Like
he's like misquoting Kendrick Lamar to DeMar when they signed him. Like, they're nothing like us, partner, or something along those lines.
I can't hate him, dude. He's awesome. Like
such a good character.
Is, like he's so like he's like chaotic good Mr. Burns. You know what I'm saying? Which is still really bad. Like it's so fucked up that he's so like
Lottie Smithers in this.
Yeah. I feel bad for Kings fans because it sucks so bad because they got out from like the worst ownership like thing in all time, and they got this owner who is like somehow worse but like also well-intentioned, which would just drive me like even more insane. You know,
I'm picturing like Boogie Cousins bringing strippers in and Vladi like in a corner, like like Smithers.
Oh no, yeah, he's doing the cover hands. No, he like I genuinely think like never has how a girls basketball team like had like a ripple butterfly effect out into the real world like another, because I genuinely think Vivek thinks he's like a basketball mastermind for coming up with the idea of the 4-on-5 like cherry pick thing for like his daughter's like basketball team. So and like it just has total confidence in all of these absolutely harebrained like decisions. Like
he's the most hooper brain GM we have.
Yes, absolutely.
He put together for a brief moment in time. We had Fox, Sabonis, Monk, and DeMar on the same team, and then when they traded him, They got Zach Levine back, who's also a hooper.
Yeah.
And that also didn't work in Chicago, and they're in a better conference now. And by the way, I just want to point this out. Someone just said this. This team is literally Karnisovas' wet dream.
Yes. Oh my God.
Down to the fact that Sabonis is Lithuanian.
Dog, can you imagine if like Karnisovas? That's about to be a movie when those two link and build. There's never been a man more destined to be a Kings GM than
Karnisovas leaves the Bulls and goes to the Kings afterwards.
Yeah.
That's going to be a movie.
Those teams always trade. We talk a lot about how teams that always trade with each other, you know, like that is another connection. Like going back to that turbo nasty John Salmons trade, like the Kings and the Bulls have swapped with each other like all the fucking time.
Many times. And by the way, are we sure that someone commented the Sabonis for Vooch swap this summer that that the Bulls send picks and they get Vooch in Sacramento? And they just rebuild
that would trigger a stop. He's already dead on my on behalf of Kings fans, man. Like
the most we're moving deck chairs around on the Titanic trade of all time.
Oh God, because here's the thing, like, because on the one hand, it's like, okay, I do think the Kings are like saved from, you know, like I think the Memphis Grizzlies are at risk and some of these other teams where there might be relocation stuff.
They're not relocating these teams. They're just going to add more teams.
Well, they're going to add some of them, but I'm saying like there is like a possibility that like, you know, maybe somebody gets moved at some point. If
they've gained a professional team this year, if anything.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I'm saying the Kings won't. I know Vivek will not do that to Kings fans. So like that's the upside. The downside is the banner from The Simpsons. Remember, you're here forever.
Yeah.
Like you don't even get the excuse of tapping out of the fandom.
It is basketball hell. That's what Rudy Gay called it, right?
Yeah,
he said that to George Karl when he first got there.
It is insane that they are the biggest victims of like NBA, like the biggest NBA reffing scam of like all time, and like the franchise has just been destroyed for 30 years.
Well, you're telling me that the league intervened and the Lakers benefited?
Yeah,
that would never happen to anything ever.
Like,
yeah, okay, sheepy. By the way, Anthony Davis looks like shit.
Jesus Christ.
I just want to point this out. Sawyer just commented, this is one of the funnest facts I've ever seen. The craziest part is that Jeremy Lamb was in the Halliburton trade, the Halliburton-Sabonis swap. I forgot Jeremy Lamb was in that trade because he's not in the NBA anymore. And he said, and now he's dating Vivek's daughter and has influence in the front office. They're Game of Thrones, dude.
He was look, I mean, he was very involved in the James Harden trade, one of the biggest.
That's what I'm saying.
Time. Yeah,
he's literally been involved. If Jeremy Lamb is coming to your team, if Jeremy Lamb is coming to your team and you're trading an all-time passer and shooter, it's not going to work out well for you. Is what history tells us.
New Shins remix, Phantom Jeremy Lamb is the new thing. It's awesome. Jeremy Lamb, becoming the Lord Varas of the fucking the Kings front office.
Amazing.
He puts the knife to Vivek's neck. Yeah, I told you not to trust me.
It's unbelievable that that is like that's only in Sacramento could that possibly be a thing.
Oh my God.
That's why I wrote down just blow it up. There's no literally see what you have with Keegan Murray and Devin Carter and Keon Ellis, and I think all of those guys probably. What?
I was gonna say, well, they did have to trade De'Aaron Fox, but at least they got to keep their some stability by keeping their coach that De'Aaron Fox didn't like.
Trading De'Aaron Fox 3 years after trading Halliburton because that fit didn't work.
Amazing. So
be patient, guys. Like, once again, blow this up and then be patient with the next iteration.
Yeah, be normal.
If you get 2 all-star guards, try to fucking figure out which one wants to be there long-term and you could make it work with. Because Halliburton was younger, was on his rookie contract, and seemingly wanted to be a King for life, and you traded the player who was already on his second contract that you didn't want to pay eventually. It's
amazing.
Whatever. None of the decisions make it. If they hire Lottie Divac, I really think they should be relocated.
I just
bring
think
him back. He drafted Marvin Bagley over Luka.
That is great. That is, I keep forgetting that he was the one who did that. Was that like a Balkan like feud thing? Like, is that like what that was? Like,
so he knew his dad. So he played with his dad, didn't he? Wasn't his dad like a?
I was gonna say, is it
EuroLeague
Vlade
player?
Also Slovenian, or am I canceled?
I think they're both Slovenian.
Yeah.
So they knew each other. So there might have been some interpersonal.
Oh no, he's Serbian. I'm canceled.
Yeah, we're canceling you.
I'm canceled. I'm not allowed in the ball.
Luka's also Serbian.
No, Luka's not Serbian.
Luka is Slovenian and Serbian.
Oh, he is.
One
okay.
of his parents is Serbian and one of his parents is Slovenian.
This is another issue. The Cold War was a tragedy for many reasons. The collapse of Yugoslavia has cost us so much.
That team would be so stacked because I go back and I look at some of the rosters when they were starting, like after the war, when they were called like Yugoslavia and Montenegro, I think was the name of the team that they were sending to like the international shit. Those teams would be so stacked now. Dude, they would kill us. They would kill us. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Serbia still almost beats us with just Jokic.
Yeah.
Like if they had like that team would be fucking, that team would be nuts, dude. The amount of talent that their starting five would be like Luka, Jokic, Bogdan, who else? Like, because they get Croatia too.
Yeah. Croatian sensation. No, there's
Zubac.
Yeah.
They are a little bit big heavy because I think Vucevic would also be on that team.
Yeah.
Because he was from Montenegro.
Bojan, would Bojan still play for them?
Bojan would be like a deep bench guy at this point, I think.
Yeah.
That team would be nuts. Jovic, Topic. I don't think Dario would play anymore. But
I want to read Vamp's
deep bench guy.
Kyle, turn the TikTok camera on. Is the 10-day war a sliding doors moment? Bill getting really into history, just like Cold War history, just because of like what happened with like some of the other things.
Because he wants to go on Russillo's podcast.
Reagan, he just gets.
He only has history guys on now.
He gets in a huge argument with like Russillo about like Reagan because he's like, I don't know, I think there should have been a tete-a-tete. I think they should have given them more. I think we should have worked with them. The Second World, the Iron Curtain was a huge mistake. Jimmy Carter was one of my favorite presidents. Even Obama. Bill loving Jimmy Carter is so awesome, man.
So good.
Bill is so goated, dude. Fucking, he's the most Gen X man who's ever lived. It's awesome.
Bill recently went on we talked about the Bill going on Coward show, right?
Yeah. Oh,
I would love to have those two, just see them have a political discussion.
It'd be amazing.
Be so good because Coward's all just about appearance and like aura.
Yeah.
I said his two favorite presidents are Obama and Reagan.
Yeah,
which is just so good.
Well, it's also like very funny because like if you ever like met Reagan during his presidency, like he would be Biden. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Reagan, like.
George Bush was president for multiple terms back then.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
let's
like,
be clear. The older George Bush was in charge.
Nancy and Poppy the Killer were fucking running the country there for fucking couple of years. Like it is so funny to be like, because that's basically like saying like, I think Dwayne Wade was really driving that Cavs team second time around. Oh God.
All right, it's 7. It's been 2 hours. We hit our 2-hour threshold. I think the Hoggies got enough. We'll be back with the Patreon episode later this week. Playoffs right around the corner.
Yeah, we're in the mix, folks. Zach, welcome back. Zach, I know you saw the comment. It was the number 1 liked comment under your return thing.
Come on
home, big dog.
Come on, brother.
Come on.
It's time.
We'll go. I know you're probably struggling for guests. Nobody wants to go on a Ringer podcast show now that you're on ESPN.
Yeah, we'll do a home and away.
We're willing to slum it on the Ringer.
Exactly.
Yeah, we don't care about aura. We don't, we
don't care about unions.
No, we hate them actually. Speaking of which, Trill, did you get my CBA that I had sent you? Like with the bounce return to sender.
Take care.
What? Hold on. Wait, hold on. What are you talking about? I thought you were going to talk about.
All right. End stream.
Hold on. What? Don't hang up.